Alright everyone, we start off today by pointing out something that's very, very intriguing among the Neocon donor class. Link in the description, archived of course. There are various donors from the Uniparty that are complaining to Joe Biden right now, and pundits and others, wonks of various sorts, even some independent content creators. They seem more incensed by Joe Biden pausing weapons shipments to Israel and wagging his finger impotently while Netanyahu laughs him off. It is a big foreign policy blunder, admittedly. He pauses the weapons shipments. Netanyahu tells him, "What do you expect me to do? I said I was going to go into Rafah. I'm going into Rafah. You know, you've already given us crate after crate of artillery shells and everything else. You think that we lack for weapons? We've pumped the area full of steroids like we did in Afghanistan back at the dawn of the 1980s, for example." I see all the pundits and wonks and donor classers complaining and berating Biden. They were notoriously silent this whole time. Like people that are donating to Joe Biden actively, there's one link in the description again, archived of course, complaining about Biden's mistake with regards to Israel diplomacy and the weapons shipment, but otherwise silent, like inflation rises. Well, that's perfectly fine. Biden threatens to raise everyone's taxes. That's perfectly fine. No harm, no foul. Biden oversees generally a slipshod foreign policy in general, not just with Israel v. Gaza, but with Ukraine, over Taiwan, over Guyana, over ECOWAS, all of these other places. Yeah, par for the course, that's fine. You know, people taking out second jobs to buy groceries if they're lucky, and if they're unlucky, taking out credit card debt to do the same. That's fine. Setting up a bunch of regulatory hurdles for private businesses and individuals, attacking the gig economy, attacking small businesses, attacking regional chains, attacking shipping, doing everything possible that he could do wrong. The migrant crisis. Well, mainly corporatists like that because it's free slave labor. Anything that can possibly happen. I mean, you have a report the other day straight from the IRS. We'll be talking about that later. Openly and transparently vowing to go after people who are political dissidents as long as they're in communication with anyone from foreign shores. Obviously, they're attempting to interfere with the U.S. political process and prevent the government from governing. And that's naughty. I used to believe that audits were generally for tax fraud. Apparently now they're going to be much more selective. Anything that Biden can do wrong, he's doing wrong. He's a doddering old man who repeatedly falls over. He can barely coherently speak on a good day. None of these things, which are damaging to the United States and its core allies, none of these things were considered meaningful enough to, in most cases, even criticize Biden. And even when there was criticism, it wasn't, hey, maybe I'll withdraw my donation to the DNC this year. It was more like, Mr. Biden, maybe you should rethink this. Very, very mild. Slap him on the wrist a little bit. Netanyahu is pounding him in the fingertips right now. No. It's only when Israel is involved. Only when Biden namby-pambies the campus protesters while he has the double message of, well, I condemn anti-Semitism in the strongest terms, but, you know, fiery but mostly peaceful. Only then, and only then, does Biden get significant pushback and criticism from the DC elite, or from Wall Street, or from Hollywood, and places like that. Only then. Oh my God, how dare you pause tens or hundreds of billions of dollars worth of artillery shells and missiles to the Israelis? Don't you fuckers know that Israel will suddenly disappear if we don't pump it full of weapons steroids? Yeah, a small asymmetric force that's already badly crippled and completely surrounded is really an existential threat to our ally in the Middle East. No, it's not. Israel's perfectly capable of going it alone. It's all basically money laundering at this point. Same with Ukraine. Our shipments to Ukraine have not made any significant difference in the logistics of that particular combat theater. Ukraine was capable of putting up about the same amount of fight that it's already put up in our absence. European nations had already been donating to them heavily anyway. It was not the provenance of the United States to need to get involved in the first place. I suppose that the idea was, well, if we don't step up and give them a shit ton of money and weapons, that will look bad on the world stage. The Europeans will complain to us and say, oh my God, NATO countries are going to be invaded. Yeah, look, that's really going to happen. Yeah, invoking the articles of NATO and saying, hey, an attack on one of us is an attack on us all is pretty clear-cut. It's pretty cut and dry. So there's no real problem. There's no reason to launder at this point, hundreds of billions of dollars back through Ukraine for political and corporate purposes, but we're doing it anyway. The same is true in Israel. Israel is perfectly capable of bombarding Hamas on its own. They're not listening to the United States anyway. Netanyahu has openly stated that Israel will stand alone if it needs to and do what it wants to do, and there's nothing that Biden can do to stop them logistically. What are we supposed to do? Israel has nuclear weapons. Are we going to go to war with the Israelis? I mean, Biden would be the only one crazy enough maybe to try it, I suppose. Embargo the Israelis. And by the way, that'd be really good for a re-election campaign. Biden looks weak, and the neocon neolib uniparty is much more focused on Israel right now than it is our own domestic problems, showing that they are vastly out of touch, by the way, with the average person in the population, even among students. So among the youth, they're more activistic, they're more likely to be pro-Gaza or pro-Hamas or whatever. Even among them, Israel v. Gaza is a side issue. It's barely even a back burner issue. It's sort of like abortion that they keep trying to astroturf to the fore, and Trump defused that ticking time bomb, by the way, while the neocons were trying to make it a mainline issue because they're just fucking stupid. It's a side issue, at most. This is the side dish. Okay, the border crisis is the steak on your plate. The inflation and the economy in general, that's the loaded salad on the side. So you've got kind of two main courses. Then you've got abortion. That's like a bowl of peas. That's how meaningful it is. And then you've got some pickled beets on the side, another side dish, or some fucking tater tots. That's the Israel v. Gaza crisis. Biden is blissfully unaware of this. The uniparty donor class is completely ambivalent towards it. They know that that's the fact, but they don't give a fuck. They care about Israel, and then they care about the United States. For many of these people, that's the long and short of it. Not surprising, considering that it ties into DEI and things of that nature. I notice that the leftoids that usually support such things don't understand that Jewishness is also a protected class, and they seem to have forgotten that. They're like, well, these Jews are all white, or something like that. It's very, very strange the way in which sociopolitics is currently working. But the overarching truth, the overarching fact, is that there are many people, very empowered people, they're in with politics, they're in with business, banking, etc., worry more about Israel and what's going on there, thousands of miles away, than they worry about the southern U.S. border. Then they worry about the U.S. economy. Then they worry about crime in the U.S. And the reason is quite clear. You're a multi-billion-dollar investor class, a donor classer. You live in a penthouse, and you have a second home in Aspen and a third home, probably in Vermont, actually, and all of these other things. And you have the Lambo, and you have the limo, and you have the butler and the chauffeur and the maids and the cook and everything else. You don't have to worry about migrants setting up shop in your neighborhood. You're over in Beverly. You remember during the Summer of Love protests when the George Floyd rioters slowly approached the Bel Air region, the rich people's area. All of a sudden, the police that had been largely absent, allowing these people to run roughshod, they drew up like a small army. No, not over here. You're not allowed to march past Martha Stewart's house. You're not allowed to march past LeBron James' house. You're not allowed to march past Ringo Starr's house. That's not allowed. You stay down there with the working and middle class. It's NIMBYism. It's the same fucking shit. They worry more about what's happening over there than they worry anything about what's happening in the United States that doesn't directly impact them. And we've seen this before. I mean, this kind of political NIMBYism is quite common, but it's on steroids now. The uniparty just can't get enough of chosen people. That's where Jesus lived, and so, I've got evangelical clients and shit. I better do something about this. Now I've got to speak out. I didn't care when the average American was being screwed, including many Jewish Americans. Yeah, living in a middle-class community on Long Island. What do you think the demographics are? Oh, there's migrants are showing up. Yeah, but those people don't donate large sums of money to political campaigns. It's the whole fucking point. It's bullshit is what it is. That's about all. Peace out.